Hello everyone, welcome to this short talk on AI threats and controls within organisations. My name is Shannon Simpson, I'm the CEO of Cyro, and I'm here with my lifelong colleague Paul Rose. The culmination of this presentation was from us asking our cyber leaders circle, our cohort of clients, some pretty stringent questions around their use of AI within their organisations. The answers remain anonymous. The first question we asked was, please rank the threats that AI presents to your business. And unsurprisingly, the cyber leaders circle, all senior information risk owners in their own right, were very much aware that AI presents risk to their business in many different ways, not just from the external side of things with sophisticated attacks and automated social engineering, but also from a data leakage and IP point of view, things like unauthorized use of reputation, intensified insider threats, and unintentional IP infringement, just to name a few. Many were there. We then asked our cohort whether they were running AI in their business. And probably unsurprisingly again, at least 80 of those respondents were running some form of AI in their business. And that might be anything from using chatbots to ChatGPT to check your grammar, to using AI to code, or use it in your defensive strategies as well. So not an unsurprising result there. However, somewhat more startlingly, when we asked our clients and cohort what controls they had in place to govern AI, only 20% of those respondents said that they have a clear usage policy for AI within their organisation. Only 18% said they had the correct data controls around, and only 25% were using risk management systems to manage the risk of AI within their organisations. Even fewer had AI-powered defensive tools that are now readily available on the market to monitor and control those things. So we've been looking at this market for some time. Obviously, people have been talking about AI for a very long period of time. But as cybersecurity specialists, we are deliberately concerned about the use of AI within organisations, and therefore we've been looking at what risk management frameworks might be put in place in order to help control and help an organisation understand what those risks and threats are in whatever form they go to. Now, the two most readily available frameworks out there come from, unsurprisingly, ISO and NIST. ISO 42000 is, as many other ISO standard, a risk management framework, and NIST has a much more prescriptive framework in 600-2. So, Paul, you've been looking at these frameworks, you've been implementing them and using them in anger. Which do you find to be the most effective, and which would you say is your favourite and easy to implement?
Yeah, as you said, thank you, Shannon. I've been looking at ISO 42001, and having sort of worked in the ISO world, it's not as you said, descriptive, but I really like the NIST AI 600 series, which is a risk management framework. And the reason why, because it uses the tried and tested method of, and it allows us to do a fantastic gap analysis when measuring AI, and it sort of looks at 4 different areas. And I think if I just bring it up here, I can sort of show you a little bit more about it. Here I've got here just showing you we've been able to create a little system in place that allows us to go and conduct a gap analysis. And the great thing about this NIST standard, as I said, it uses the same types of tiering and COBIT maturity method for conducting a gap analysis, which is great because you can take away, you can get yourself a baseline maturity. You can get your current state versus your desired state within whatever time frame that you need to do. So, for instance, we've been working with customers at the moment to within a 6-month period, where would you like to be? This is where you are in your current state, and this is where you should be in 6 months' time. So you get a desired state, or a baseline versus where you need to be.
Does the standard look at all facets of AI across an organisation?
It does, and the great thing about it is it's designed for people that are developing AI tools, but also using them. And it's designed for consumers, it's designed for businesses, it's designed for those developers that are going out in the market. It tries to cover all areas. And as I said, the tried and sort of tested method of scoring, you've got tier 1 to tier 4 in NIST, which is ad hoc, i.e. you've hardly got anything in place, all the way up to adaptive or optimized, so that you've got an all singing, all dancing solution. And what we've done, there's sort of 4 areas that they look at, what they call functions. So you've got the govern, which is governance, i.e. policies and procedures, that you've got the risk management frameworks, that you've got strong leadership in place. The mapping, where you go and take a look at where the systems you're using, where the data resides, and what systems and access controls they're using around it. You've got the measurement, which is what KPIs and how you should measure that solution. Yeah, and then you've got map, measure. Yeah, so you take a look at that. It allows you to go and put sort of compliance in place for your solution. So if you what we've actually done here, and I just wanted to bring a few out for you. The way that we work on here, we've got like a worksheet we hide, and we allow us to go away and take a look at our baseline. So we can see here we've got a baseline of 1. So if you take, for instance, govern 1.4, that's essentially saying that you've got proper policies and procedures in place, that you've got everything that you need. You've then got, and I'm just picking out a few here for you, 4.2, that you've considered the third-party technologies that you've got in place, that you've identified, and you understand if there's any data leakage or any data privacy. You've then got measure 2.3, which I'm bringing out because making sure that you've got an assurance criteria, i.e. that when you're using the system, that you've got a tick box to say, if you meet this assurance criteria, that this solution is what it says on the tin, and then you've got, make sure that you've got that in 2.9 here, we're actually saying, that you've got you can interpret the solution, you can understand how it's been built, yeah, and that it's explained, and you've got all the fine print. And then the last one I wanted to bring up, which is obviously very key, is that if you've got issues with that AI system that you've developed or you're using, that you train all your staff.
So like a lot of our tools that we have when we look at other standards, when looking at information assurance, we can use this tool that you have here to not only establish a gap analysis of where we are, establish a baseline of where we want to achieve in terms of our risk acceptance level or risk tolerance, but we can also create a risk treatment plan off the back of this for organizations to go and start to work on getting some controls around their AI usage.
Yeah, and that's so. As I said, what we've done, we take this away. We come in, we assess, we do this sort of baseline maturity. We say this is where you are now. This is your current state. And then what we can do, we work with them strategically to say, okay, well, where do you need to be in, say, 6 months or 12 months? And then what this allows you to do is obviously direct your resources, direct the applications, tools, or systems that you need to put in place, or policies or procedures that you're going to need to put in place to make sure once you're using the AI system, you've got all the controls in place. Absolutely.
And having looked into this now with some depth, is there some commonality between some of the controls that might be in place under this framework and other controls that might be in place around data loss protection or acceptable use?
Yeah, you've got various different, if you go into the Microsoft world, you've got things like Purview, you've got data leakage prevention, access controls, for instance. One of the big areas that this standard advocates is that you implement access controls to use the system. So not everybody can just use the system, and you make sure you've got the same user rights. So yeah, you've got lots of different standards and different ways of doing things, but yeah, exactly that.
So this framework really is a tool for people to understand their exposure to the use of AI, and it may require, depending on people's use of it, further controls around monitoring the use of LLMs on their data sets, etc.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Very good. Oh, great. Well, that's brilliant, Paul. Thank you very much for that. I think we can tap that up there before anyone realizes that this has been entirely AI generated and we weren't really here in the first place.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.